the Giants and Saquon Barkley, and he's been spectacular. And depending on the injury status of their quarterback, who knows what Barkley's role might be this weekend. He will go up, of course, against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, who were coming off an uninspiring win in overtime last week against the Patriots. In case you missed it, here's what Rodgers said after that game.
This is a game we had to win, for sure. I mean, you can't be 2-2, losing to a third-string quarterback and not playing great in all three phases. So we had to have this one. This way of winning, I don't think is sustainable because it's just pushed too much pressure on our defense, and obviously I got to play better and will play better.
All right, so I want to bring everyone back through the mists of time to the conversation we had about this an hour ago and bring us right back to where I think the most important piece of it was. Because there's Rodgers himself saying this is not sustainable. There's many people, myself included, saying that game felt more like a loss when it took you 70 minutes at home to beat Bailey Zappi. It felt more like a loss than a win. But then Graziano correctly pointing out, for all the doubts we have raised about Green Bay, they are sitting at 3-1. Far worse things can happen. So the question I guess I'm asking you here, Bart Scott, is, are the Packers legit with what they have right now? If they don't sign, I don't know, an Odell Beckham or some kind of change, with Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, and company as their primary weapons, is this a team that you could see doing significant damage this season into the playoffs?
You can add Alan Lazard to that as well, and Tunyon.
Sorry, Lazard, of course, is critical, yes.
But, you know, with all that said, the sum of his parts is not greater than the whole, and they have to try and figure something out and figure out how they're going to go about winning football games. Listen, we know as long as San Francisco and Jimmy G's around that, you know, Aaron Rodgers always talk about how he owned the Bears. Well, Jimmy G owns Aaron Rodgers. So that, you know, that's a tough matchup for them anyway. I don't think this is a good enough team to compete for a Super Bowl. I think they're a team that can win their division. I think they'll win a game, maybe get a bye, but I think that's the height of their limit. They're limited. They're a very limited team. And I think, you know, you talk about losing to a backup quarterback. What about losing to a running back playing Wildcat, doing his greatest, Ronnie Brown.
Back in the day with Miami? Yeah, put a bookmark in that. I want to come back to it, but let me go to Tannenbaum on this. If you were in charge of the Green Bay Packers right now, would you be thinking, I need to make some kind of move before the trade deadline relative to the offensive weapons that I have as we watch the young players who show great promise, but clearly there's a development process that is going on there? Would you feel like you still need to do something?
Absolutely. It goes back to their decision to franchise Davante Adams. They were trying to win this year. Those are great young receivers. I would go after Odell Beckham Jr. I've talked about this for a while. I still am hard-pressed to think, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, who's all in right now, guys, how he's not recruiting him every single day. This could be Aaron Rodgers' last year, the last dance mentality. Why in the world are they not trying to sign Odell Beckham every day? When he's healthy, he is still a great receiver coming off of a bad injury. But again, he may make the difference between, as Bart said, Jimmy G's 49ers, Tom Brady's Buccaneers. I'm hard-pressed to think why they wouldn't be signing him right now.
Well, we showed it all to you yesterday, Dan Graziano. We had Odell was tweeting about how great Rodgers is, and then you had Rodgers on McAfee this week saying great things about how everyone, we've talked about wanting to play together someday. Every team should be out for a stud like that. Sure. What are you hearing about Odell and his pending return?
Well, right now he's not healthy. And I don't think there's a real clear timetable on when he will be. And, I mean, we're 8 months post-injury here, significant knee injury, not his first one. So we really don't know when he'll be able to help someone. But that's for the purpose of this discussion, let's assume that at some point this year he is. Right, that he's back to the player he was last year in November, December, January for the Rams, which is a great player that could help anyone. I think you look at the teams where they have the good, reliable quarterbacks. First of all, I think the strongest likelihood is to go back to the Rams. Yes. That seems to be the most popular opinion around the league. But if that's not the case, you look at other teams that have... Right. Buffalo, do they need him, right? Like Green Bay, maybe they need him. So I think you look at teams that have reliable quarterback situations and can win.
Why do you look so skeptical? Why does Bart look like that? Why are you so skeptical?
Because it's all about location. If I'm coming off a knee injury, I want to go to a cold place and play on that surface. Why would I want to go there? I don't care how good Aaron Rodgers is. The likelihood that we're going to win a championship. You couldn't beat the 49ers with Davante Adams, who is a better receiver than me. Why would I think me going there is going to put us over the top? I mean, there's not enough cheese curds in the world to make me want to go to Green Bay.
We'll see. He seems interested in it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, that's
he
Mark.
and Aaron seem interested.
He's a salesman.
We'll
trying
see.
to get the price.
That mark, he hasn't hit it yet this year in a game they haven't needed him to. They don't need him to drop back and air it out over and over again. We've talked about this a lot. He's kept the game under control. They've run it through their running backs. The defense is winning them games. I think the formula is working for the Cowboys. I don't think he needs to have a 300-yard or even a 250-yard passing game in order for them to win.
Well, and we'll see. Again, they play the defending Super Bowl champs this weekend, but he has been unbeaten at the beginning of his career, and that brings us to Dak Prescott. We continue to wait. We're just over 3 weeks removed from Prescott's thumb surgery. He was a non-participant in practice again yesterday. So here's Mike McCarthy with an update on the health of his QB.
Had a good visit with the doctor yesterday. So the next step is to get enough strength in the hand to throw the football. He's doing everything he can. We all know that. His first step for football, from my view, will be when he is inserted into the quarterback school. And so he's working with the rehab group today. He will not be part of the quarterback school.
Again, the use of the term school to describe a group of people
What's this,
there.
Dory? Finding Dory?
It's just a very unusual thing to do. That's usually used to describe a collection of fish. But let's put that aside for a moment and deal in what's really important here. The cynical among us will say it's impossible, no matter what they say, to imagine that how quickly they bring Dak back will not be dependent at least a little on how much they continue to win. They've been winning games without him. I'm not in any way suggesting Dak is in danger of losing his job. Don't get me wrong. But the idea of having to hurry, the idea of being of abundance of caution, if they keep winning games, Dak Prescott can take as much time as he needs to get his thumb back. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you only get one chance to get it right. And you know if you bring Dak Prescott back too early and he injures the thumb, season's over with. Right, and then you're stuck with Cooper Rush for the entire season. Right now, Cooper Rush has bought you the luxury of time because you're still within striking distance of your ultimate goal, or the first goal, which is to win the division. You know, I don't know if that changes if you lose to the Rams or then is doubled down by losing to Philly. Then you have to panic a little bit and hope that you're in striking distance for a wild card.
So the Eagles, as we just showed you, play the Cardinals on Sunday. The Cowboys have a tough game. They're an underdog at the Rams. If they lose that, then going into Philly the following Sunday night, the Cowboys would be 2 games out of the division and in danger of falling 3 games back. Mike T., I mean, you've been in these rooms where these decisions get made. How much does that factor into the decision of when Dak comes back?
It's certainly a factor, but you have to take the long view if you're the Cowboys, which is that right thumb is the most important thumb of the franchise for the next 10 years. So, of course, you want back from Philly, but that's where leadership has to step up. Steven, Jerry Jones, and just say, hey, human nature is we want to push this, but on an orthopedic injury, you put a screw in a thumb like that, more time, the better. So you want to fight human nature. Sometimes you got to protect the player from himself because knowing Dak Prescott, he's going to say, oh, I'm good to go. But you got to take the long view if you're the Cowboys because he's just too important.
Dan, they've generally done that, right?
They have.
As impulsive as we like to act like Jerry Jones is, he actually isn't when it comes to these things.
It's not how he's actually been running his team. And with regard to medical issues and health issues, they have been very conservative. They've held Dak Prescott and other players back an extra week than maybe they've needed to be sure. The other thing to remember is this isn't just like can he make the injury worse? This is an effectiveness issue. Right? If he doesn't have enough strength in that thumb to grip a ball the way he needs to, he won't play well. Right? So you're actually hurting your team's chances of winning if you're bringing back a Dak Prescott whose hand is not fully healthy. So there are a lot of factors in this. Fundamentally, what you need to know is he wasn't at practice yesterday. He's not likely to play this week. They will not put him on the field until the thumb is 100%. And that has nothing to do with how good Cooper Rush has been or how many games they're winning. They need him at full strength when he needs to come back.
Yeah, and again, but the definition of full strength changes a little bit in desperate times, and they've bought themselves not being in desperate times, which I think is the most positive thing I can say, and that's why everyone making fun of me yesterday because I said Cooper Rush is the MVP. I'm not crazy. I don't think he's the best player in the sport, but what I'm saying is when everyone in the world said they were done after week 1, this guy stepped in and won 3 consecutive games. All of a sudden, people are like, wow, when Dak comes back, maybe this is a Super Bowl team. We were burying them after 1 week this this season.
I mean, we could be dumping dirt on them in 2 weeks again as well, and then, makes that Lions game a lot pivotal. But, also when you talk about coming back from injury, you talk about last year, Russell Wilson coming back from the hand surgery, the ball sailed a bit. Looking at the clips, I'm looking at him with the balls in his hand, and it looks like he has some Junior Whopper hands. Doesn't look like he has those Josh Allen type, polar bear mitts, and that's important because not only will he be throwing the ball, he's probably going to have a brace over that thumb, which makes it more difficult to be able to control the football, which means you need a little bit more size in those mitts.
You just have a funny way of putting things. When you said Junior Whopper, it took me a second to figure out what you meant by that, and now it just kind of tickled.